I spent my 25th birthday sitting in a bank manager's office, staring at a piece of paper that told me my life was a lie. My grandfather, Henry, was the only person in my family who really understood me. While my parents doted on my younger sister, Bella, Grandpa Henry and I spent our weekends fishing or building birdhouses. He was a quiet man, but he was sharp with his money. When he passed away 10 years ago, he left me a specific bequest, a trust fund containing $100,000. The terms were simple. My parents were the trustees until I turned 25. They were supposed to manage it, maybe grow it with safe investments, but they were strictly forbidden from using it for themselves. It was my nest egg. For a decade, that money was my light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't party in college. I worked 2 jobs to graduate debt-free. I drove a beat-up sedan. I lived in a studio apartment the size of a closet. I did all of this knowing that on my 25th birthday, I could put a massive down payment on a house and finally start my real life. Yesterday was the big day. I woke up, put on my best suit, and drove to the bank. I had the paperwork ready to transfer the funds into my own name. I was shaking with excitement. I sat down across from Mr. Peters, the branch manager. He smiled, typed in my account number, and then his smile vanished. He frowned. He typed some more. He took off his glasses and wiped them. "Is there a problem?" I asked, laughing nervously. "Did the interest rate change?" "OP," Mr. Peters said, his voice grave. "Are you aware of the recent activity on this account?" "What activity?" I asked. "It's a trust. It's supposed to be locked." He turned the monitor toward me. Balance, $124.50. I blinked. I looked for the comma. I looked for the extra zeros. There were none. "This is a mistake," I said, my voice rising. "There should be over $100,000 in there." "There was," Mr. Peters said gently, "until about 6 months ago. Then, there was a series of large withdrawals authorized by the trustees. Your parents." He printed the transaction history. I snatched the paper. January 12th. Withdrawal, $15,000. Venue deposit. February 4th. Withdrawal, $8,000. Couture bridal. March 10th. Withdrawal, $25,000. Luxury catering. April 2nd. Withdrawal, $10,000. Floral design. The list went on. Every single penny had been drained over the last 6 months. And I recognized the timeline perfectly. My sister Bella is getting married next month. My parents have been bragging about the wedding of the century. They told everyone they were paying for it to give their princess her dream day. I had wondered how they could afford an $80,000 wedding on a teacher's and a mechanic's salary. Now I knew. They didn't pay for it. I did. I felt like I was going to throw up. I thanked Mr. Peters, walked out of the bank, and got into my car. I drove straight to my parents' house. I found them in the living room, surrounded by wedding favors they were assembling. Ribbons and gold glitter were everywhere. Happy birthday. Mom chirped when she saw me. "We got you a card. It's on the counter." I didn't look at the card. I slammed the bank statement onto the coffee table, right on top of a pile of tulle. "Where is my money?" I asked. My voice was so cold I didn't recognize it. My dad looked at the paper, then at me. He didn't look shocked. He looked annoyed that I had brought it up. "We need to talk about that," Dad said, leaning back in his recliner. "We were going to tell you after the wedding. You spent my inheritance on a party." I screamed. "That was for my house. Grandpa left that for me." "Bella needs this," Mom interrupted, standing up and putting her hands on her hips. "She's only a bride once, OP. She wanted the Plaza Hotel. She wanted the designer dress. We couldn't say no to her. So you stole from me." "It's not stealing." Mom snapped. "It's family money. Grandpa would have wanted Bella to have a beautiful wedding. Besides, you're smart. You have a good degree. You can work and save up again. Bella isn't like you. She needs a little more help to look good for her husband's family." "You drained $100,000, I whispered, shaking, "because Bella isn't smart enough to make her own money." "Don't you insult your sister." Dad yelled. "You are being incredibly selfish. We raised you. We fed you. And now you're going to ruin your sister's happiness over money? It's already spent, OP. It's gone. Just let it go. I looked at them. I looked at the gold ribbons. I looked at the people who were supposed to protect my future, who had instead sacrificed it on the altar of my sister's vanity. Let it go. I asked. Yes, Mom said, sitting back down and tying a ribbon. Now, grab a glue gun. We need help with these centerpieces. I turned around and walked out the door. They thought the conversation was over. They thought I would just roll over and take it like I always did. They were wrong. I wasn't going to grab a glue gun. I was going to grab a lawyer. I didn't go home. I drove straight to Bella's apartment. Part of me, the naive part, wanted to believe she didn't know. I wanted to believe that my parents had lied to her too, told her they won the lottery or took out a loan. I needed to look her in the eye and find out if my sister was an accomplice or a pawn. I knocked on her door. Bella answered, wearing a white silk robe with bride embroidered in gold on the back. She was holding a glass of champagne. OP, she squealed, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. Did you see the centerpieces Mom is making? Aren't they divine? I stepped into her apartment. It looked like a wedding magazine had exploded inside. There were boxes of expensive favors, a pile of designer shoes, and a sketch of the floral arch that cost more than my car. We need to talk, I said, cutting off her rambling about napkins. I just came from the bank. And Mom and Dad's house. Bella's smile faltered slightly. She took a sip of champagne. Oh, is this about the trust fund thing? The air left the room. The trust fund thing. I repeated. You knew. Well, obviously, she sighed, walking over to her couch and sitting down like a queen holding court. Mom told me they were going to use some of the family resources to help with the wedding. It's not a big deal, OP. Family resources. I laughed, a harsh, jagged sound. Bella, that was my money. Grandpa left it to me in his will. Specifically, it wasn't a family pot. It was my house down payment. God, you're so dramatic, she groaned, rolling her eyes. Grandpa is dead, Op. He doesn't care what happens to the money. And if he were here, he would want me to be happy. He would want his favorite granddaughter to have a wedding that people talk about for years. He left it to me, I said, stepping closer. He didn't leave it to you. He didn't leave it for a party. You stole $100,000 from your brother so you could have a chocolate fountain. I didn't steal anything. Bella snapped, standing up. Mom and Dad signed the checks. They said you're smart and you have a good job. You can earn it back in a few years. I'm only getting married once. This is my moment. Why are you trying to ruin it with your greed? My greed? I asked, incredulous. You spent 80 grand on a party, and I'm greedy. Yes, she yelled. You're just jealous because for once, it's not about you and your perfect grades and your perfect job. It's about me. And frankly, if you really loved me, you would have offered the money anyway. The fact that you're making a scene shows what a bad brother you are. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my dad. Stop harassing your sister. If you upset her before the wedding, you are banned from the ceremony. I looked at Bella. She was glaring at me, clutching her champagne, completely secure in her delusion that the world owed her everything she wanted. You really think you're entitled to that money? I said quietly. I'm entitled to a perfect wedding, she declared. And if you're going to be a downer, you can leave. I have a makeup trial in an hour. Okay, I said. I'll leave. But I want you to remember this moment, Bella. I want you to remember that you had a chance to fix this. You could have offered to pay me back. You could have apologized. Get out, she sneered, and fix your attitude before the rehearsal dinner. I walked out of her apartment. I walked past the luxury car she drove, probably paid for by my parents too. I got into my sedan. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. The sadness had evaporated, replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. They weren't my family anymore. They were thieves who shared my DNA. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number of the best forensic accountant and estate lawyer in the state. I had met him once through work. Hello, the voice answered. Hi, Mr. Sterling, I said. I have a case of breach of fiduciary duty and grand larceny involving a trust fund, and I need to file an emergency injunction before a wedding happens next week. Mr. Sterling, my lawyer, was a shark. When I showed him the trust documents and the bank statements, he didn't just frown, he smiled. "This is textbook breach of fiduciary duty," he said. "Your parents were custodians. They had a legal obligation to protect your assets. Instead, they embezzled them. And since your sister knowingly received stolen funds, she is party to the civil suit. Can we get the money back?" I asked. "We can try," Sterling said. "But first, we need to stop the bleeding. If they spend the rest on the caterer and the venue, it's gone forever. We need an emergency temporary restraining order, TRO, to freeze their assets." 2 days before the wedding, the hammer dropped. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard about it. A process server walked into my parents' house during the pre-wedding brunch and handed them the lawsuit. Simultaneously, the bank froze my parents' checking accounts, my dad's retirement account as collateral, and Bella's accounts. The chaos. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. The morning before the wedding, the final payments were due to the vendors. This is standard in the industry. No pay, no play. My dad tried to write a check to the luxury venue for the final $10,000 balance. Bounced. He tried to swipe his credit card. Declined. Sterling had flagged the accounts for fraud review. The venue manager, not wanting to host a free $80,000 party, locked the doors. The caterer called my mom. The payment didn't go through. We aren't prepping the food. My phone started ringing at 9 a.m. It was my dad. "What did you do?" "The bank says our accounts are frozen. We can't pay the florist. The venue is threatening to cancel." I answered calmly, "I know. I filed a lawsuit to recover my stolen property. The judge agreed that there was a risk you would dissipate the assets further, so he froze them." "You ungrateful monster." Mom screamed in the background. "You are ruining your sister's wedding. Fix this. Drop the lawsuit right now." "I'll drop the lawsuit when you deposit $100,000 into my account," I said. "We don't have it." Dad yelled, "It's spent on deposits." "Then I guess you don't have a wedding," I said. "You spent my money. Now you have no money." The wedding that wasn't. The wedding was cancelled 24 hours before the ceremony. Guests were already at the hotel. They had to be told to go home. Bella drove to my apartment. She pounded on my door, screaming so loud the neighbors called the police. She looked deranged, mascara running down her face, wearing her bride hoodie. "I hate you," she shrieked when I opened the door, with the chain on. "You destroyed my life. Everyone is laughing at me. I can't face my friends." "You destroyed your own wedding, Bella," I told her through the crack. "You spent money that wasn't yours. You thought you were entitled to my future. This is just the bill coming due." The police arrived and escorted her away. The aftermath. It has been a year. The legal battle was short. The evidence was undeniable. My parents had to liquidate their assets to pay me back. They sold their house, their cars, and drained what little savings they actually had. I got my $100,000 back, plus legal fees. I bought my house. It's a nice place, quiet, with a big yard. My parents are living in a rental apartment. Bella is still unmarried. Her fiancé left her shortly after the debacle, realizing the level of crazy he was marrying into. They have all blocked me, and they tell the rest of the family I'm a vindictive sociopath. I don't care. I walk through my own house, paid for with the money Grandpa meant for me, and I feel clean. I lost a toxic family, but I kept my dignity and my inheritance. Grandpa was right. He knew I would need protection. And in the end, his gift saved me in more ways than one.